How's it going, guys? Today we're talking about sprinting versus sustaining efforts on the assault bike. So if you haven't seen actually how to set it up yet, we have another video. Go and check that out, and actually how to set up this bike and optimize it for you. Once you have that, you can basically just memorize your position and put it there. I'm there right now for me. So we're actually going to talk about the technicalities of initiating a sprint versus a sustainable effort. I want to define those really quickly. So a sprint is really anything where you're it's short enough where you can kind of go hard and really get a lot of the bulk of the calories or distance. Usually it's calories, especially if you're going to do a sprint, out of the way. So you're front end loading a lot of that work. Whereas the sustain, you're still going to get up to speed relatively quickly, but you're going to kind of, again, sustain, hold a certain wattage or RPMs or however you want to think about it over a certain period of time. And again, exactly how long you're going and what else it's involved in is going to determine how hard that sustainable effort actually is to be sustainable, but at the same time, I just kind of create an intersection of those two things. Right? So we're going to start off talking about the sprint, right? And basically the goal is to get up to speed relatively as quickly as possible, max out the wattage because that gets the calories turning over really quickly, and then you'll kind of allow yourself, I call it bleeding watts, right? Or like allowing yourself to kind of slowly burn down, right? So say I was gonna do 10 cals as fast as possible and then into something else, so sort of like a sprint metcon. This is kind of how I would initiate. There's 10 cals. You can see I got up to speed relatively quickly. And then I actually just kind of allowed myself to slowly spin down. The watts are actually still really high, but I wasn't working very hard. So, things that I think about when I'm actually doing this. All right. Number one, with a sprint, I'm thinking about 3 ways of generating power. One is through the legs, all right? That's going to be always your biggest bang for your buck is using your legs. 2 is going to be, 2 and 3 are your arms, right? So as we come through, I'm getting a pull on this arm and a push on this arm, and then it switches directions where I'm pulling with this arm, pressing with this arm, right? So those 2 are switching over each time. And I'm really working to keep a lot of my body weight over top of the pedal. That way I can generate the most force, all right? I don't necessarily recommend standing up for sprinting, all right? You might kind of like come off the seat just a hair as you start to initiate it. But if you get up too high, you can't really press well, and you can only pull. Like if you watch a really big person on the assault bike, they're gonna be up so high on the seat that they're kind of down here. It's not as efficient because you don't get both a press and a pull. You kind of have to like throw your shoulder like that, and that's not ideal, right? You're better off kind of keeping that elbow tucked in a strong position and firing from there. So that's the sprint, right? Sustaining would be the same sort of thing, right? Where you get to speed and they're just gonna hold a certain speed. So something like this, right? And then just gonna hold this for as long as I need to, and then calibrate to beforehand. I'll stop, and again, continue to allow it to go, and kind of tick over the last, calorie or two, right? So, things that are different with that variation, I go from that triphasic power, so push, pull, pedal, to just pedal and push. And the push is really subtle, right? So I'm using almost all of my legs, right? So I'm still using those legs and pressing a lot. And I kind of feel like I'm almost falling over here. So I'm just gonna push really subtly. I even use an open hand sometimes to make sure I'm not having to pull. And that way I can just kind of maintain my balance as I'm biking, right? And that's really sustainable. The reason I don't pull and use that triphasic power, I move to biphasic, is simply because when I actually go to pull, anytime I'm kind of doing this, I have to use a lot of my core to brace, and that makes it really hard to breathe during the actual workout. All right, and again, it's not something, the way these, again, handles are engineered is really inefficient to be using a lot of that when we're actually, again, in a sustainable effort, whereas efficiency really doesn't matter in a sprint. It's about getting the work done as quickly as you can, right? If you can get it done quicker, great, it doesn't really matter, right? Whereas obviously the sustain, you want to make the most of every metabolic dollar that you spend, right? So that's why we go down to biphasic. So again, it's any time that we're having to, if I'm really using a lot of my core, I am also sort of pulling myself out of position. I'm having to fight myself with my erectors a little bit each time I'm pulling, right? So there's a lot of tension, and a lot of people actually hold their breath during a sprint, which you're obviously not going to do that during a sustainable effort, right? It's just the same thing as a super heavy squat, how that form's going to change just a little bit in terms of your bracing, in terms of your mechanics, just a hair relative to, you know, like 100, 200 reps in an actual workout. So it's the exact same thing here. So again, the biggest difference between a sprint and a sustainable effort is that you're going to go from that triphasic power in the sprint to biphasic power in the sustain. So again, going from pedal, pull, push in a sprint to pedal and push just a little bit to maintain posture actually during the sustain. So that's something that I think a lot of people have error with, and something that makes you way more efficient on the bike, way more sustainable, and yeah, overall it's going to help you out. Good luck. Let me know if you got any questions, and head over to ZOARfitness.com for more tips on the assault bike.